matidi bali tete sako nyam ni kulote kuale nyam ni wana wale akashi abapa ni uwai mama ni bi ne chon ga sun enga ini gameje ini anabashi ke anakusun sana wana yegbemu woke oche Mr. NSI ni shon lekeni bi ne gbera ni bi amisa ichomo no yewoni action ni bi ne ke ichichomo.
This is all about Ga. It's all about Gama Shiton. It's all about Gama Kusum. When I left Ghana, I've been out of Ghana for about 30 years. There's one thing that I quickly recognized. Any place I went to, any museum, any cultural center, there was so much to say about the land of Ghana. It covered all the peoples, some from the south, and as you got towards the north, the story began with more intensity. However, there's always a gap about Accra. And so when I had to do my thesis for my master's degree, I had to choose something about which I would do my work. And so I began to cast my mind back to my infancy, and it's very interesting the things that I came up with. And so henceforth, from that time, all my work began to center on the philosophy of dance. So everything you're going to see here today will be a lesson. What exactly are the Ghans about? What do they believe in? What are social organizations? What are the politics about them? That's the thing, those are the things that we try to enshrine for you to see. So let's go through a few points. Several different narrations give the sources of the Ghans. Each of them are equally valid. So what we did was, we took a look at the various theories and we distilled the salient points in all of them. So the first thing that we can all agree upon is that the Ghans have a highly socialized paternal system. That's number one. Number two, our system is clearly rooted in a theocracy. This is very, very different from the other peoples that we find around us. That's a contrast. And because of this theocracy, it affects the way that we project ourselves. It affects our political aspirations. We do not so much conquer to dominate, but we defend ourselves. We have soft power. And because we are a theocracy, our chief figure, who is a Wulom or the priest, is the one who is the intercessor between us and God. So for us Ghans, the divine is extremely important. Hence, when you take a look at these figures down here, you're going to see a very prominent figure who is highly lifted, and that should symbolize this very important office. That's number two. The other things we came about is the fact that Ghana history is very synonymous with migration. You cannot talk about the Ghans without saying the fact that we migrated. The very settlements that we have, we settled as we came from east. Those that arrived stayed further west, and so those on the east came the most recent. So as you look at the sculptures today, you're going to see that they are in a procession, they're in a caravan. The priest is behind giving the blessings, and they're listening. The three in Ghana, when you say something 3 times, Omanomi, right, you're making it important, right? So these are the 3 that represent us as people, and as we journeyed, you can see the transition. And our sculptures are oriented from east to west, to give you that. That's one of those things as well. The other most important thing is Ghana philosophy. What is Ghana philosophy about? I discovered that Ghana philosophy is built on a binary system. A binary system means you count 1, 2, and then you start again. And let me unpack that for you. Look at the way that we give our names. We have 2 systems that rotate one after the other. So I give the same naming system as my grandfather. My son gives the same naming system as his grandfather. So we have system A and system B. System A and system B. When you look at these sculptures, you're going to see that each one of them is reflected. So you have one face, the same face is reflected on the second side. Ghana philosophy. Look at the way that we call ourselves, right? Our names have a prefix and a suffix. So we say Tete is the first boy, then Tay, then we go down the list, right? But if I say my name is Kwate, then I'm Tay of the Kwate family. It's a binary system. Tay for position, Kwate for the family. If I go towards the ladies as well, it's the same thing. If I say Ayele, is Dede for the first girl, Ayi for the prefix. So it's Ayi, Dede, binary system. If I also go to the way in which we take a look at the days of our week, Ju to Jufo, then we break it with Wednesday, which is short. Right? So, Soha, Ho, Hoba. I'm going to challenge you as you hear all of these things. Take a look at our tradition. It's so rich. And these things just didn't come by themselves. They were taught, they were passed through the generations. And so when we were coming up with these structures, we decided to sit down with a visual advisory committee. The committee was made of myself, Mrs. Heather Baja, our professor, Mr. Amegache, and then Mr. Dan Quino. The four of us formed this team, and so we go through the theory of what we're doing, and then philosophically we try to impose it onto the structures that we have. So that's where our binary system comes from. The other thing that we remember is that the Ga story is deeply intertwined with the history of a famine. Every year we celebrate Homowo. Homowo actually characterizes the way the Ga nation has shaped itself. Because of the hardship that we came across, we've devised systems to make sure that we can produce, we can sustain ourselves, and we can also look forward towards the future. So when you take a look at the sculptures, you're going to find that the middle one has negative spaces. The middle sculpture is depicted by depressions. It depicts the times in which there was nothing. Flanked by each one of them, you're going to find structures which have outgrowths. It depicts the fact that the land is producing, there's productivity. But we put those in the middle so that we can remind ourselves that hunger does not always last. It is always preceded by plenty, and it will also be always followed by plenty. So it is a kind of a warning for us, it is an advice for us to be able to do so. The last thing that I want to touch on is the way in which we count our time. Corn happens to be one of the very primary products for the Ga nation. It is what we use to feed ourselves. But corn is grounded here on the earth. So for us, corn is the carnal part of it. God provides that for us, we plant it, we grow it, and we are men. On the other hand, the moon is also a very important part of our iconography. The moon tells us how we count our times. So sometimes we celebrate Homowo in late July, sometimes in August, but it's all because we have a system of counting. So when you take a look at these, any outgrowths that you see, I'm going to challenge you to count them. There are going to be 12 on each side. There are 6 on one side, 6 on the other side. It gives us a full year. It's either a year of corn harvest or it's the phases of the moon coming full circle. So with these, we're also making a calendar that honors our forebears for the wisdom that they had in trying to ensure our posterity by making sure that we're well grounded in where we happen to be. As I said, I could go on and on and on and on. I'm simply excited once I started learning of my own tradition. And these are the things that we put into this sculpture.
Honorable Regional Minister,
Municipal Assembly. I'm a fear me yake. President Nana Adodanko Akufo-Addo into Nekabake, Bakweni Gafen. Afi fale ne fe o ame hu ame ka me heba wo mi ni ame toji aka me ba fe ne ken sculptures ne ni ame ha ma mi ache ne fe fo kankran no ne ekome ye hu ni ame ba fe ame fatai ene me ko te man kuma no man koko me ene me gini bi ni wona ni iha wonu ma chichi ojogban mingbra mona ke hamie a echwobe ni gameba chipon neno nno amie wuro me gime ni nyia me hie ni eto ame ni ameba ni homoba ye ame ni ameba na ni eni na me ye homowo ni ame kan Sculpture no ha me kanio nyojie be ni sani aye homowo ke be ni sana afi ni bi gogo if you are ni papa ni sanu wo fe wo kon awojiji won ha amele ake won wo ba fatahi onu wo kwe ni ganga wo hu e be min jo RCC ni the regional coordinating council wo ba fatahi oni wo kwe ni bi no le hwe na abomoden ni ni maami afi fefew ngo chole culture of maintenance ne eba no koni ni na aka machi ni beni wose beni wa na echono kurukuru ni yinto na kefie ega na kan yinto e wona na kan yinto e don wonele ngani nka wa me as an assembly aka me bomoden nneke wo culture of maintenance ne amemo minwa koni ameka prime again man
woke mancheme ke lumo konku me basandi woke akusu alata manche ke ni adabraka ninji adabraka manche na saniga
yo mimbanye kwelo e fe mimbanye fe de o manye nyahami o manye ngene gbine enwona wa ke atu nokutumoneke nuncho ajo me ni amena ngane ni ameke shoni ne e ma insikpondo ni je adabraka enwona wa denje ejuno koni wo fe wo ka fe si helemo ake wo kusumi egbesi ni laje wonye mene amba shoni ko nekene ke ma die ne kusumi wo ni bi ya ke wo bo wie mo ni amewi oto ye ke je heni woje ke ba wo da wie mo wo kusum fe mo wo gbe ni wo bi ajafraja amewi fe e wo ejino ko ni ton wo kusumi ojugba e wo sani wo fe wo ke wo ya wo mi koni ni ne wo bi hesande no le mi ojugba bona fe ni wo kusum aka laji ya ka okusun laji pe bu o se in laji o nuncho ajo amewa denche aka ameka no koneken eba won nuchumo mi ni wo hie ni won ta ni gan da ngbewu ale ne ke maji ni bi ne ni wo le wo kusumi ni wo le he ni wo je ke he ni wo ya ne fe ne mu mi ntwa mfashi aka nke ihe wale ba wo mi wa koni wo ha ni gbeke bi ni ameya school ka ni bi abo amene ke kusumi na chomo ya school tun ami bona fe koni amu amele do tugba e wo fi oni yo ni ma wi ne wo egun na wa den chakisi ne kenu chumo ne e ba ya isi pono ye arabaka
ke boni ati se ni ji aye wi be so bi mo gama BP ne te school ka se ni kamele nu ko ame fe ke wa ma chuna mene eje ya ka chile un taprache chiko yo bini wo ne ken wo symbols ni yo je fe ni ta chon ni wo je oba wo won na wa ake oba wo nga ni menu tabrache ma me amene si chifio ni ame kase ni na mele anpa situation ake be kun ke o ko ojiami ona symbols baba o ye ada you si wo no ye si ale wo e ko ne jile po ne wa ni o ta gbe ni yo yi mo ka chon bi ake ka o laje o kusum po laje me mo to palon ka wo nga ke meni ka fo ka ta aje po so mo chumi e pite gan kusum si aji o popo ye ka ju gba wa ga so na so le abu ska o nyo kusum e pe o ba laje mo ke bi ko obi le gbe ke je blo gbe ti ba go gan ma bi ak mo fe ma so ni wo kan wo kusum ka laje ye o gba ha wo yi o gba mi ti tan wo fe proud na wa ga le wo yi ona wa bata wo gbe si fo pa no ne ke ba no fe no blo fo we ene chon wo ene wo je o kere kwane no ne ke eni na ha mo fia mo ha le sia ke sin wo fe oni timo gama bi wo pa blofo ka bi awe kan sia ko bu kan awe ka awe blofo enu si you ne ka ke si be ke bi fe ka o bon ni ka se mo for the first 5-6 years fe o banda tank wo pa che me ka ni fa wo bi awe kan sia ka mi ne ka be anokwale blema nyoji mi be ni wo nyi class wo no blofo si be ni wo fe comme transfer wona ka si osana ka se blofo wo chon be ke bi ne kwane mo fia ma mo ne bi akase wo kusum ka yo mo me ko nyage wo kusum ye nyago mo ne ni aka won je won ni to si e serve ak Christ Jimmy enta se no 11 years ne ya so no fia no ni mbo temi na ka je won no ko ni wo ma mo ni mo fia mo ke ya wo kama mi na ka je won no ko ni cha no ma nyama